Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Barnstable Board of Health meeting for June 27th. Roll call, please.
Yes. Dr. Luxkow?
Here.
Dr. Caniff?
Here.
Tom Lee?
Here.
Dr. Waller? And John Norman?
Here.
And Dr. Guadagnoli is not able to make it today.
Okay, having a quorum. This meeting of the Board of Health will be recorded and transmitted by the Information Technology Department of the Town of Barnstable on Channel 18. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, anyone else desiring to make such a recording or transmission must notify the chair. Is anyone else recording this meeting? Seeing no one, we will proceed to the first item on the agenda. We have a presentation by our Town Manager, Mark Ells, in regards to the new state Title V regulations amendments that were adopted recently. Welcome, Mark.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me a moment to give you an update. Mark Ells, Town Manager. Back on June 1st of 2022, the Town of Barnstable was informed of regulatory revisions to the Mass DEP regulations relevant to Title V. Mass DEP filed their final watershed permit regulations and Title V regulations last Thursday, June 22nd, with the Secretary. The town is actively engaged in discussions with Mass DEP as the state proceeded through the public hearings, taking comments, and now promulgation of these regulations. The state did incorporate many of the comments and concerns that the town of Barnstable expressed in their comments to them during this public process. Again, we were notified on June 1st that the final watershed permit regulations and Title V regulations were with the Secretary as of June 22nd, 2023. These regulations will become effective on Friday, July 7th, 2023. My update is, I don't think any of that will surprise any of you at this point. My update is that we've begun comprehensive review of the new regulations. Our initial impression of a few key points are specifically how the regulations might relate to the comprehensive wastewater management plan that we have. I can go into any level of discussion you want on that, but our understanding is that our comprehensive wastewater management plan can serve as the watershed management plan and thus the basis of our application for a watershed permit. So that was one of the key areas that we were looking for DEP to include in this regulation so that the wastewater plan we put in place can be turned into the water management or watershed management plan, and thus us proceed as we have been now through approval of a plan and ultimately implementation for the better part of a decade, last 3 years for actual implementation. And our CWMP complies with the requirements of a water management plan. The town can apply for the watershed permit. The town is only responsible for the nitrogen load within the town's borders. That was a big discussion because we know we have 5 embayments in Barnstable, 4 of them impaired, basically the entire south side, and 3 of those 4 are shared with the abutting communities. So one of our key points to understand as they developed these regulations was, okay, if you adopt them and our plan can be rolled over into a nitrogen management plan, how will you enforce this? Will you look for all 3 communities to comply, or will you just hold us accountable for our portion? And in our initial review, it looks as though only the portion that's Barnstable we will be held accountable for. The permit focuses on nitrogen load reduction versus measurements at the Sentinel station in each of those bays. So that's good because that's how the whole plan was developed. So that's a positive. We've already reached out to DEP and requested the watershed permit application. We have not received it yet, and it isn't, at least we haven't found it on the website yet. Again, they don't commence until July 7th, so perhaps their intent is to post it as of the 7th and beyond. But we've already requested it. Once received, we intend to submit the application for the watershed permit covering the entire town. That was important because that's the way we've done our comprehensive wastewater management plan. But again, we have 5 embayments in the town, 5 watershed areas. So that may be a point of discussion as we move forward with this. Every indication is we can do 1 for the town versus 5, and really 4 because Barnstable Harbor isn't an impaired watershed. So really, we're looking at the south side. And our goal is to complete this application process this summer, perhaps into fall, but we're hoping this summer. So that's a 10,000 foot view of it. You all live at ground zero as far as overseeing these regulations on behalf of the town. So we'll work hand in hand with you as we progress. There's a lot of detail in here, and I'm sure there'll be lots of detailed discussions. At this point, Dan Santos and I have Rob Steen playing a lead technical role for us. Our legal department and others are engaged as well. I know Tom McKeon will be certainly on behalf of the health department. But, so we've got a staff level review occurring here. And as needed, as we progress into this, we'll be updating because I'm sure once the 7th passes, our public will want to know because these are significant issues relevant to their homes and their businesses. So we'll keep you advised as it progresses, and at any time, we're available. So if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them at this point.
Great, thank you for that, Mark. Any members of the board, any questions?
Yeah, Mark, just so we understand the importance, what does the watershed permit allow us to do?
Well, to be determined, but the big picture intent on our part and was kind of a core aspect of our comment is that we've gone through a long planning period and implementation of a plan to reduce nitrogen load in our embayments that are impaired. And those embayments start with Shoestring Pomponetset, 3 bays, Centerville River East Bay, and Lewis Bay. So everything along the south side of Barnstable. We have a plan to be able to reduce the nitrogen load that involves sewer expansion, and we've begun that. So what the nitrogen management plan would allow us to do is, if it approves the comprehensive wastewater management plan, for us to continue over the 30-year planned period to reduce those loads of nitrogen and therefore meet the total load reduction that we need to achieve in our embayments. Now, the regulation speaks to a 20-year plan. So the DEP will have to recognize the CWMP and approve it, and part of that approval would be for the 30-year plan that we have. If approved, as we envision, then that would mean that Barnstable would be compliant with this requirement, and therefore individual properties wouldn't have to go forward with nitrogen reduction systems beyond the plan. The CWMP turned into the nitrogen management plan. They wouldn't have to go out individually and do something additional.
Okay, so if we didn't get approval for the watershed permit, then individual homeowners would have to come up with a system that the state would approve of to move.
It hasn't. We haven't. That is what we are filing to obtain. So nobody has yet. The regulation requires that filing to occur if you have the approved CWMP, or if there'll be different approaches if you have a different scenario than an approved CWMP. That's the next step.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tom Lee?
As far as I understand it, I have not reviewed the whole regulation change-wise, but there is a 2-year period for the NOI to be filed under the watershed permitting. If the town is desiring to go into the watershed permitting, like Mark said, that the individual homeowner does not have to upgrade their Title V system as Title V regulation proposed at this point.
Which, correct, as I have read it as well, but my concern is that on July 8th, one of our residents is going to want to transfer their property or have a failed system or some circumstance that will leave them perhaps in a position that is unclear. Right. And that's why we're proceeding immediately, because we don't want to create that. You know, and we have the opportunity with an approved CWMP to move this. And so we were asking for this to occur during the review of the regulation so they could use us as like a test run to see how the regulations would apply. That wasn't possible for whatever reason. So now, as soon as we got the notice on the 21st of June, we reached out to DEP and we plan to proceed.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
So as a fault, then, does the board here have authority to grant relief to individual homeowners as we're watching this process play out, if it becomes necessary or if that becomes an issue?
You will have authorities for various waivers, but I can't. We're going to have to show that cumulatively we are achieving the load reductions, or else that wouldn't be approved.
Right.
So, you know, it gets down to that level of detail. Okay. I mean, obviously, if you approve too many of those and the approach wasn't to sewer, then at a certain point, you're not going to reduce the load, and therefore you would not be in compliance. So I guess we're going to have to, that's why we have to work hand in hand with the Board of Health, because I don't want our residents to be, this is maybe a number one issue for everybody who owns a property here in Barnstable. And I want to remove as much of the unclarity that a new set of regulations will create as we possibly can.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be a lot of work. Yes, sir.
Mark, I know there's a lot of testing going on by private groups, but has the town been monitoring and testing in those 4 embayments? Because the significant reason why Barnstable Harbor is not degraded is because of the flush, the amount of water that moves in and out on a daily basis with the tidal change. On the south side, we had, the one dredge project in Katuitt that, for me personally, I've seen, a change. I've seen, a healthier North Bay and areas that seem to be getting a better flush. Is that also kind of a two-prong attack? Are we looking at and continuing with trying to open up and deepen and widen? We have cuts that are, set with stone, and we have some cuts that are sand on both sides, but we've got, pretty much all of these areas that could be widened and deepened, because I think that's the quickest bang for the buck is seeing that. And I know I'd had a conversation with you a few years ago about, are we as a town monitoring, and did we have a before and after of the nitrogen levels in North Bay, Three Bays areas prior to the dredge project, and then do we have them now that it's been 2 years since the dredge project?
We do monitor the Sentinel stations, and we do embayment monitoring. I'd have to get the details from our staff at DPW.
Could you forward me those numbers if you have them?
Absolutely, yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
We will, and I'm pretty sure they're online here and at the Cape Cod Commission, but I'll get you those links as well.
Great.
But the broader is, with our CWMP, as opportunity to achieve more gains to reduce nitrogen present themselves, whether it be an innovative approach or whether it be a dredge or whatever opportunity allows us, we'll implement that, and we review on a 5-year increment. So we may modify the plan at some point. I think as the Board of Health, though, you're all very aware that this is far more complicated than just nitrogen loading.
Absolutely.
and
I mean, there's,
we know there's regulations on PFAS and emerging contaminants coming down the
Exactly.
line,
and
so
the regulations that
Yeah.
the state is passing specifically just addresses nitrogen.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's
so
it.
that's what they're looking.
Yep.
And Tom can speak to this, but the many meetings that I've sat in, even if we just completely cut off the water tap today, the stuff that's already in the ground from certain areas are going to take decades to get to where they're released into the embayments. So the quickest bang for the buck, to repeat myself, is, and I've always advocated for, is the dredging and opening up and get more of a flush, more of a tidal flush into these areas, because that's what's going to keep up with the nitrogen that is in the ground from, our grandfathers on the Cape that's now making its way to these embayments. What someone in certain parts of these towns is flushing today isn't going to make it to the embayment for 30 years, 20 years potentially.
Yeah,
so
decades.
monitoring those numbers, I think for state compliance purposes, the dredging will help as we, take, logistically, it takes 30 years to sewer a town this big, and how many, miles of, pipe at average depths of 26 to, 12 feet down. You don't get a lot of pipe in the ground per day when you do that. So,
Yep.
it's going to take a while to get fully sewered. And in the meantime, I think we can, push that envelope too.
Yep.
Great. Anyone
Right.
else? Comments or questions?
How many years ago was Barnstable village area sewered? 20, 25 years ago?
Oh, more than that. Yeah, I would have to
That's
say.
probably a big deal, why that's clean over there.
I think the concerns there were tight soils and the inability to put in place a Title V in many cases. I don't even know that they were really looking at nitrogen load at the time. I think relevant to the nitrogen load, though,
Maybe they didn't know about it.
I don't think it was a focus at all until probably late 2009, 10, 11, where by 2016 it was a priority. Tight soils up there, a small village center up there was, I believe, the reason why they ran the sewers up to the north side. The flushing, though, from a nitrogen
At
standpoint,
zero cost to the people.
I think the old 557 grants were a 50-50 split, and the resident paid 25%. I think the town paid 25% under the original funding policy. Treatment plants were 90% federal and state grants. So if you expanded your treatment plant, then but I think the flushing is what helps the nitrogen removal, and obviously Barnstable Harbor has less density around it, has a wonderful flushing, and we should never lose sight of the fact that as much as we'll go on to address the problems in the four bays on the south side, we want to protect our Barnstable Harbor. We should never lose sight of that, because that's our healthiest customer here, okay, or asset for us. So got to keep that on our radar as well. So.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Mark.
All right,
Always
thanks.
good to see
Thank you for letting me take the time.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yep.
And the next item on the agenda, this is a septic variance. Continued, Daniel Ojala, Down Cape Engineering, representing Alan, Matthew, and Daniel Chase, owners of 56 Redwood Lane, Barnstable, map parcel 318-007. This is a 132,443 square feet parcel, vacant lot, requesting variance to have septic system in an area with less than 4 feet of naturally occurring pervious soil above the adjusted groundwater level. Good afternoon, Mr. Ojala.
Good afternoon, Chairman Norman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Dan Ojala. I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport, and helping the long-term lot owners, the Chases, out with a pretty straightforward request. This one is a local request only. We're looking at a regulation that you call it the marginal lot rule. And basically, if you have a low-lying lot, it's more set up for low-lying than this type of a situation, that it was always frowned upon to fill in order to get above the groundwater table. This is a unique situation where 50 feet above sea level, the true groundwater is very deep, but there's some perching layers, some restrictive layers underneath. And one of those layers, when we're about 11 feet down, there was a little water weeping out. And so that was technically a groundwater table that we had to be above, and then the good, nice coarse soils that were down below that, that water table, that were below that little perched layer. So we're here respectfully asking that that marginal lot rule that's, mostly set up for very low lots that you'd be filling, we're not filling one bit. We think it's entirely reasonable because we've got, I believe, 11 feet of dry sand down until we hit that groundwater. The base of the leaching field is 11 feet. The ground is even higher than that, and only 5 feet are required under Title V. So even though many feet of dry soil were logged, and depending on the different times, once we never hit the water, but another time it had been, like now, some recent rain, and we had a little bit of water seeping in. So a system in full compliance with the latest rules can be put in. So the variance of this marginal lot rule, which I would argue is set up more for filling, as its title says, the filling of marginal lands in close proximity to groundwater. That's not what we're doing here. It's a remove and replace. We've got the nice coarse dry sand at depth. We'll overdig and bring up. You may remember this was the one where we were looking to delay the timing of the perk until we installed the system. And I did pull that leaching field an extra 5 feet away from the neighbor, so there would be no chance we'd undercut the stone wall on the west side. So it does look to me like a reasonable variance. I think you could safely grant it without setting any unusual precedents or in any way endangering the health and welfare of the citizens. And the test is it will not adversely contribute to the decline of public or private surface or subsurface water resources. And so where we've got the full 5 feet of dry sand underneath it, we're over digging, and that little perched layer is 11 feet below the bottom of the leaching. I think it's a good, safe variance to grant, and it's an oversized lot. There's a bunch of lots that are all combined into one here. No other variances to Title V. So be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you for that rationale. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Just give you your name and residence.
Hello, thank you. Hello, okay. I'm Wellesley Marsh. I am one of the abutters at 3565 Main Street. And I understand, I'm sorry?
Yeah, it's on.
It sounds a bit soft, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
they're real low
It's
today
really
for some
soft.
reason.
Is there volume? Hello?
Yeah.
Well, this is a little bit better.
It's on, we're good.
Thank you. So this is a continuance of the first portion of the variance request for this plot of land. And I'm a bit confused about which particular lot this is, if the other one you provided a variance for at the last meeting. And since that's been approved, this particular lot, from what I understand, is not going to be built upon. I'm not.
So it's the same, just to, if I could, through the chair.
Yeah, go ahead, give it a
Yeah, just, it was super simple. We had applied for both variances, but there was a technical glitch, and the advertisement didn't go through for the local variance on this. So they were still at 56, which is, as you come in off 6A and go on Red Wing, it's on the right. So it's all, this whole area, we're considering one merged lot for purposes of building. It's number 56 Red Wing Lane. It's assessed as one parcel. And we had requested two items. One was for the perk at time of installation, which isn't, I think, technically a variance, but we asked for the variance anyway because, I mean, the perk will be done before the system is installed. It's kind of a timing issue. But the second part wasn't properly advertised in the public notice, so that we're fixing that by having re-advertised to the public. So it's the same exact project. One variance was fully approved. This is a local variance for the 4 feet of naturally occurring soil. So we're only talking about the right-hand side of the road.
Thank you. And with that said, I would just like to reiterate my concerns regarding this parcel and the sensitivity, especially with the groundwater and the wetland and the vernal pool, and the reason for the variance of hardship, especially if the piece of land is up for sale. And it's a new build. From what I understand, the regulations are much more stringent on new projects rather than existing projects. So I would just like to respectfully reiterate my concerns carried over from the last hearing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other members of the public like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff report?
This is the same property that was reviewed at our last Board of Health meeting. Sieve analysis is unprecedented in my opinion, but the board already voted on that, I believe. Or have you voted on the?
Yeah, that's also just address this one.
As far as addressing the separation of groundwater without enough naturally occurring soil at 30.5, according to the plan, that's not unprecedented. That has been granted by the Board of Health in the past. They will bring in enough fill to build up the system to have clean sand. But I also want to include, I want you to hear from Tom Lee. He has an idea about this. Go ahead, if I may. Tom called me today. He had an idea. Go ahead.
So,
This morning, I spent a couple of hours looking at this plan and looking at the soil. And my thinking is that, what are you doing with the clay layer that underneath the perch table?
So what would we do with it?
Yeah.
Typically would truck it off-site. It's a little gushy, the clay here. You could probably fire and make bricks out of it if you were industrious, but, we're probably not going to do that.
But what I'm thinking, though, to me, I don't want to give out that variance right off the bat, because it's all the information of the soil that you're digging into the leaching field area. I feel more comfortable. This is only me talking, and it's like, if Dave Stanton is going to be on site, I want to know exactly what the soil material is before I grant the variance in terms of that 4 feet of natural material stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if you recall, but I brought in a bag of that sand
Oh,
at
but
the
that's a
last
sieve
hearing.
analysis.
It's
I don't-
super coarse.
I don't, like we said before, I don't trust the sieve analysis.
Oh, me
This is
neither.
not.
Yeah, to be
Okay.
clear, and to clear up what Tom McKean said, we're not asking for a sieve analysis to be the end-all, say-all on this. We're just asking for a delay in time so we can get the shoring set up, the huge excavator in the big hole. Then we'll do the perk with
Correct.
their witness. So it will be done to a T. So we're not asking for a sieve in lieu of a perk test.
I understand that.
But
I'm
we
not
did
giving
apply
you the
for that,
sieve.
but it's not really what we're asking. We're just can we just have some discretion on the timing so that the owner doesn't have to dig
just
twice?
cut you off here. That issue's resolved.
That is fully resolved.
Let's stay focused on the 4 feet of naturally occurring soil.
Happy
That's
to
what's,
do that.
what's
Yep.
before us.
Yep.
Thank you.
So what I'm asking the board is, if the board can let me to discuss with Dave Stanton at the time of the construction in terms of the existing soil material stuff, and make a final determination at that point. I'm not holding up for the project stuff, but I just don't have enough information to give you that variance at this point.
So the strip out goes down to what elevation, Dan?
Around 24, and the ground is about 46.
Right. So you're going after that C4 layer at about different perks, 24, 24.5, 28.5, roughly there.
We're going to go
So
all
you're
the way
gonna-
down to that one.
Right.
yeah.
You're going to punch through the C3 clay layer
Yeah.
within the area of the septic system, and then you're going to do the perk in that C4 layer.
Yes.
But because the size of the machine couldn't go down to 29 feet or down below, you can't verify 4 feet of naturally occurring soil that you're going to build upon after you strip out the C3 layer, correct?
To be clear, we've got 4 feet of good suitable material that we've witnessed in the town. Dave Stanton and Danny Gonzalez were both out there and looked at it. 4.5 feet of beautiful dry sand beneath everything. So there's no question we've got that. That
Right.
means Title V. That upper layer, the C2, we had it 4 feet on 3 and 4, but if you notice on 1 and 2, it was only 3 feet thick. So that band varied in thickness. But forget about that. We're going right through that, right through C3 and all the way down to C4. So
Right.
you'll have, once it's all built up, you'll have, a good layer of 3 feet, and then there'll be some clay, and then there'll be on the bottom and another 4 feet on, so there'll be a
So the
tremendous amount
bottom,
of
the
leaching
bottom of your
available.
excavation for the leach field, you're going down to the C4 layer at elevation roughly 24, 24.5, 27.
It
And
does vary a bit, yeah.
Because these 4 perks, you didn't go down to like 19, 18, you can't verify 5 feet of naturally occurring soil. You can only verify 4 feet of naturally occurring soil, and then you do your fill-in. You do your strip out and build up with perk soil all the way up to, within 2 feet of the elevation of the septic.
Yeah,
The
and
leach
it's
field.
always confusing me, but I think if I have it straight, the 5 feet is the distance above adjusted groundwater.
Right.
4 feet is the amount of naturally pervious occurring material, so we only need the 4 feet.
Which is a local regulation.
4 feet is Title V too, as well, so that they're consistent there.
Right.
So we fully meet Title V. It's just the one local rule that's it's designed to not fill in swamps and put in raised systems.
Right.
Here, everything is way below grade, so I think that the spirit and intent is met.
So
Hopefully the board can find that.
The logistics are set up now is that if we grant this variance for 4 feet of not having verified 4 feet of naturally occurring soil, you're going to be doing a perk test at time of installation, correct?
Well, to be clear, we have 4 feet of naturally occurring pervious material. It's just not above the adjusted groundwater table.
Right.
So that's the key.
Right.
In that regulation, there's just a weird little thing, and, it's there for a reason, but the 4 foot of naturally occurring pervious soil must be above the maximum groundwater elevation. Here, it's 11 feet below grade, but the good stuff is 20 feet down.
Right. So
that's
Dave,
that's the
so
catch.
whoever's going to be the inspector assigned at that particular day you do an installation, you're going to have this all widened up, opened up, sloping trench to walk down for
Yep.
them to do
Safe
their perk
slopes,
test
yep.
on. And I just think that Tom's concerns are, the verification of it. So did you want to be there at the time, or do you want just make sure when Dave is there doing his perk that the soils match the perks that they did, the holes that they dug?
Dave can call me, or I can go out to the site at that time to verify it.
Because they're already moving forward on a basically a gamble, because if it doesn't perk,
Yep.
it's not passing. So
Yeah, it's dry, beautiful sand. It will perk,
okay, so you're comfortable with that?
100%.
You're comfortable with that, Tom?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
welcome more eyes. It's absolutely no problem.
Any other members of the board questions?
So that was a super technical discussion.
Sorry.
And I guess I'm wondering, what's the purpose of this local rule for having the 4 feet of naturally occurring pervious soil above the adjusted groundwater level?
If you had a lower elevation lot and
Okay.
you had a builder that wanted to fill the lot, we would want them to verify that they're not putting the septic at this elevation, filling it, but never getting that impervious soil that they buried.
Okay.
So we've had the DEP line up with Barnstable local regulation that says we want to see at least 4 feet of naturally occurring soil above the adjusted groundwater elevation.
Okay.
So it's got to be naturally occurring and perkable. That's always the caveat. You can have naturally occurring clay, that just doesn't solve your problem. It's got to be perkable, and that's that C4 layer down 22 feet down.
And the intention is not to fill in anything here?
Yeah. So like John said, a lot of times if you got a low swampy lot, you're trying to, the town is trying to protect the environment. That's not really, it says it's not consuitable, acceptable for such lands because they're low lying and you'd have to bring in fill. Here, we're way up here and we're digging down, so there's no fill required. It's just a strip out that's required. We meet Title V, and again, we're 11 feet above that groundwater. So, gosh, it's hard to say that's marginal when you've got a huge separation, more than double what's allowable. Or
Okay, I think I understand. It's the quality of the soil that's the
And
issue.
and the
Okay.
above the ground adjusted
The quality-
groundwater
okay.
elevation.
There's plenty of soil there, it's just the quality of it.
there's
Thank
two bands, and the lower band is and it's all dry and good material. It's glacial lake deposits. As the glacier came down, it was like a bulldozer. When it retreated, that filled up with lacustrine or lake bed deposits, like silts and sands in the bottom of the lake. And in places like in West Barnstable, it can be 60 feet thick. Here, it's not quite that thick, luckily for us. But
So are you gonna arrange that the timing will be available, so you'll be available either by phone or?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. If you're good with that, Dan, is we'll make an amendment to the motion that at the time of the perk test, when they notify and set up with the town inspector, that then Tom Lee would also be involved in the inspection. for
think
for
that's
board
very good.
verification, something along those lines. You comfortable
Yeah,
with that,
and
Dan?
maybe, or his designee in case he's out of town, but yeah, we're very
He
happy
doesn't go
with
anywhere.
that.
He's the hardest working guy I've ever
My
met.
luck will be in Hawaii, you know?
He's on like 8 boards. It's like, it's unbelievable.
Happy to do it. Yeah, we're happy to have that
If
as a
you're comfortable
condition.
with that. So, any other questions from board members? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the variance as submitted with the amendment that at time of perk test, that board member Tom Lee would be notified and allowed to be on site to inspect also, along with the town health department inspector.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Dr. Leskow?
Yes.
Dr. Guadagnoli?
He's not
I'm
here.
sorry, Dr. Caniff. I'm looking at
Yes.
Dr. Caniff. Tom Lee?
Yes.
John Norman?
Yes.
Um,
Yep, Dr.
and
Waller will be
Dr.
sitting in.
Waller. Thank you. It's unanimous?
Thank you, Dan.
Really appreciate your careful consideration. Thank you.
Now I can send him that.
The next item on the agenda, this is a variance for septic. Dave Mason representing James Murphy, Mary Jude Donabedian, excuse me for that, trustee, revocable trust at 975 Bumps River Road, Centerville, map parcel 168-012-003, requesting septic variance to allow septic tank and pump chamber on adjoining lot, owned by the same trust. Good afternoon, Mr. Mason.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Dave Mason, and I'm representing James Murphy and the family for the property. This started out to be a simple septic repair for a property transfer. The property transfer is actually interfamily. There's a family member purchasing this house, and they weren't aware of the issue associated with the lots out there, whether it was in their opinion they were combined. And I think there's some information that leads to that to belief based on how it's called out in the assessors. Assessors has it as Lot 2 and 3 under the ownership of. But the septic location is being requested, one, because access to the rear yard where the one portion of the system's in the side underneath the driveway by the pool, and the other's in the backyard, and they are looking to internally change the plumbing to the side with new tanks and pump chamber in the driveway, and then pumping it out front where there's easier access for the installation of this 6-bedroom system. So again, we're looking to allow the system to be installed on a lot that they own. It is a separate lot. I am aware that the family attorney is involved cleaning up the lot situation. I'm not sure where that stands, but they're looking to have it placed on that lot, which will be under the ownership of the family member also.
Okay, thank you for that rationale. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff report on this?
Based on that information, staff has no objections.
Thank you for that. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
No.
I just had a question, Dave. I know it's not the lot we're looking at, but the other house, kind of right under the word way or above the word way, the sketch on that septic shows the leaching of that one on. I'm assuming that's over the lot line.
It is, and that's their lot also.
Same all the trust.
Yes.
And all of these are going to be, because I know from my days on the zoning board, if you have conjoining lots in same ownership, they merge.
And that was my understanding also, as far as history goes. I think they're looking, we were informed otherwise. So I think the family is looking into that to make sure everything's cleaned up.
Okay. So with the grant of this variance, can we just follow up on, when these lots do finally get cleaned up and right ownership?
Yes, yeah, I'll make the family aware of that, and we'll make that part of the record just for clarification.
Yeah, because I mean, granting this variance, could come back down the road to bite us because
Understood.
it's we're basically allowing someone else's flow onto someone else's property. I know it's all the same, but if this all ever broke up in a trust and sold.
Right.
So I want to make sure this gets followed up on to make sure that this becomes one lot that eventually down the road doesn't come back to. So with that, I'll probably just, would probably add an amendment that when this is all cleaned up, that we get notification.
That's fair.
And maybe Tom, staff could just follow up on that too for a note to make sure that we get the paperwork. So
Very
that-
good.
So they don't go, okay, we're all set, never mind, don't
Oh, I
hire the
understand.
lawyers anymore. Thank you so much. Any other members of the board, comments or questions? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the variance as applied with the amendment added that we just receive notification from the family's attorneys when the lots are cleaned up into one ownership.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is a innovative alternative system that was moved to July 25th, 2023 meeting. So we don't need to go on with that. The next one would be John O'Day, Sullivan Engineering, representing Leah Hibbard, owner, 73 Hathaway Road, Ostville, map parcel 114-033. Singular wastewater treatment septic system requested by the Board of Health in order to maintain a 5-bedroom dwelling. Good afternoon, Mr. O'Day.
Good afternoon, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting. Here with me this afternoon is Damon Kendall and Ron Welch from Kendall and Welch. We were before you in, was it March at your hearing, where there was a bedroom discrepancy. They presented to you pictures of the existing dwelling that was at the property. There was, and a letter from that time was resubmitted with this application, where the existing house had 6 bedrooms upstairs and an additional bedroom in the basement. And they were proposing a rebuild and requesting to have 5 bedrooms. The board requested that in order to allow a 5th bedroom, that they would like to see a denitrification system for that consideration. And so we are back before you today with a plan that has that incorporated. And we are proposing a singular secondary treatment system, which system does have a general approval from the state for nitrogen removal. And so I think with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Town staff report.
Health has no objections. The only question I have is it's filed now, so we're okay. But if this was filed after July 7th, we'd be looking for the best alternative technology. And I'm not sure if Singular meets that goal or not, but just something to think about in the future. For this purpose, for today, this is fine, in my opinion. But would you consider this the BAT, or would it be some other type of technology?
Well, because it does have a general permit, that is sort of what led us to using it as a selection. And if I heard correctly at the onset of this meeting, the town is hoping that their comprehensive plan meets the wastewater, in which case individual homeowners in areas like this wouldn't be subject to doing anything. So we think that this is a good overall and reduces, what had been always at this site significantly.
Was a testing schedule and agreement submitted? I don't know if I didn't get a copy.
I think that that's outlined now in the state's
General
standard
Okay.
general
So
permit.
you don't
for
have a
system.
contract in place?
We do not have a contract in place, but that could certainly be submitted as part of the permit.
Okay. Members of the board, any comments or questions? No? I would entertain a motion then to approve the application for the denitrification system as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the system as submitted. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you so much, Mr. O'Day.
Thank you, everyone.
The next item on the agenda, this is a food variance. Courtney and Brent Kaiser, Kings Grant Racquetball Club, 12 Old Kings Road, Katuitt, map parcel 022-106, requesting a variance from the saltwater estuary interim protection regulation and a variance from Title V to allow an increase in seating from 39 to 85 seats. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Brent Kaiser. I'm with Kings Grant Racquet Club. Here again, we have a seasonal restaurant that's open from June through October, 3 days a week, from 4 till 8 p.m. And we're requesting to increase the number of seats that we have to 85. Because we are seasonal, we're only open 3 days a week. All of our we use all paper goods, so there's very little even dishwashing that goes on there. It's because of that we're requesting the variance. We were here last month, had the same request. We made a mistake and didn't notify all the abutters, so we've done that. So just here again to make the same request.
Great, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public that would like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff?
My comments are very similar to the last meeting. The septic system is not large enough for this proposal. It's in a saltwater estuary district. So based on just the septic system size alone, it should not be granted. Title V, we don't look at seasonal use, we look at daily use. And not us, but Title V, DEP requires us to look at it that way. So in my opinion, it should not be granted.
Thank you for that. Members of the board, any comments or questions? Tom Lee?
I agree with Tom in a sense that when you come into the septic system, it's based on the daily design flow. It's not based on a seasonal or a permanent use flow. So that's why we cannot really judge and change the design in terms of the septic system from daily to seasonal use type deal. So I would support Tom's comment from staff.
Now, what about the consideration if the hours were maintained as they are? It's what, 3 days a week for how long?
4 to 8 p.m.
4 to 8 p.m., 3 days a week. If we had a guarantee that we would be notified that if the hours were expanded of the restaurant, does that make a difference in terms of the overall flow?
No.
What it typically opens up is a compliance
Issue,
enforcement issue, and then, we take an already overburdened health department and say, oh, and we want you to micromanage this place to see if they're actually expanded to 4 days a week or 5 days a week or 6 days a week, because now they have the permit to have that many seats. It just becomes it's an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
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 So, any other members of the board? Any comments or questions?
No.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to deny this request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to deny the request. Roll call, please.
Dr. Lesko?
So it's a motion to deny, so a vote of aye would be in favor of denying.
Right.
Correct.
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Caniff?
Aye.
Dr. Waller? Tom Lee?
Aye.
And John Norman?
Aye. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in. The next item on the agenda is housing bedroom. Deborah and Dennis Mason, Seashore Homes, 63 Main Street, Hyannis, requesting a variance to the bedroom determination. Newly built 8 one-bedroom apartments designed to house 2 people each. State definition requires minimum of 100 square feet, bedroom for 2 occupancies, and a minimum of 70 square feet for 1 occupancy. Requesting variance from the state codes to use each bedroom for 2 adults each. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Why don't you go ahead and give us the rationale for this?
Rationale for it?
You pull the mic a little.
A couple inches along one wall, short. So.
Pull the mic a little bit closer to you. Make sure the green light is on.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, wait.
Make sure the green light is on.
How about now? Does that work?
Push the little button, and then it'll come on bright green.
On here.
Okay.
It's on bright green.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, so evidently we're a couple inches on one wall short to conform. And reading the regulations for the size of the space for the bedroom, we were 108 square feet, but you take the closet out of it, obviously you're reducing it down to the 98 square feet. So we thought we were, we thought we conformed at 108, but we didn't realize they were taking the closet space, floor space, out of the equation. So we're just looking for a little relief.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff?
These units were inspected by the health inspector. They're 98 square feet, so they're allowed one person per bedroom under the state code. This is not a town ordinance, it's a state code. And the closet space cannot be counted as part of the floor space in the bedroom. So it should be denied. The other option is to reconfigure the closets to provide the extra 2 square feet to the bedroom and make the closet smaller. And I've already voiced this to the applicant, but he does not want to reconfigure the closets. The only option now is to only allow one person per bedroom in compliance with the state code.
Thank you for that. Members of the board, comments or questions?
This is already built.
Yes. We took Dr. Golden's old offices over on Parkway and Main Street. It's about 3 blocks down from a, yes.
But I mean, it's already
And created,
remodeled.
yes, it's already built, yes. It's completed.
And you don't want to take 2 square feet off each closet.
That would be a little anguish, yes, at this point, since they're already,
But-
that would be a little anguish at this point, since they're already completed, so, yes. So,
I think that's probably the only way you get approval. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself.
Who's, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, now who's Seashore Homes?
that would be us.
Okay, so who's the architect?
Would it be Sam Stribert, TP Stribert out of Chatham?
And they submitted these
Yes.
plans?
And I called him and asked him with regard to this, and he said no, he'd not heard anything with regard to that they don't count the closet floor space for your bedroom. So and of course, in the letter here that I've given you a copy of that too as well. I don't read that as this stating that excludes the closet space whatsoever. I could be wrong, but it looks like to me they say you can't lose the closet for a bedroom. Well, we're not trying to use it for the bedroom. We're trying to use it for the storage in the bedroom.
Because
So-
the town makes, and the board makes qualifications of what is a bedroom and what isn't a bedroom by a cased opening and a closet. So if someone doesn't have the closet, sometimes we don't even count it as a bedroom because, it has to have the closet.
That's correct.
We do,
So-
but assessors doesn't count it.
Right, so what, did we inquire at any other towns as far as their interpretation of floor
No,
space?
this is a state code, so we only read the state code. Our inspectors went to special training in Boston for the state code, both Timothy O'Connell and James Parziali. They know the state code very well, and that is not, you do not count the closet as part of your bedroom. It says it right in black and white as well in the
Yeah, would
state
you,
code.
excuse me, could you tell me which part of that says that you exclude the closet from that floor space?
The word
I don't read it
closet-
here.
The word closet in the definition of habitable room
Yeah, to be
says
used,
excluding,
to be used for those uses, but,
yeah,
it
I
doesn't
mean-
say you're excluding it in your floor square footage.
Okay, hold on, I don't want to get into a debate back and forth,
Yeah.
so we'll have our discussion up here, but thank you.
Okay.
Um,
I don't want to debate this either.
So during the permitting process, Tom, what do they come for the sign-offs for?
It was approved in the permitting process, but
And did,
when
were
they
these,
apply,
were these,
when
were
they
these,
apply for a permit, they don't tell us how many people. So that he's allowed to have one person per bedroom. It's approved bedroom. It's approved as a bedroom. He doesn't want to have one person. He wants to have 2 per bedroom. That's the issue.
Yeah, we're right there by the hospital, so we tried to provide 1-bedroom units for, the hospital help and other folks too as well. And you may try to rent for one person, but usually one person has another person that, it may even come in later or whatever. We're just trying to clean this up so that we don't have any issues, that's all.
I mean, it's difficult because it comes, the horse is out of the barn, and I understand, finish paint, finish trim, finish everything, and then all of a sudden you have to go in and do demo work on everything to gain 2 square feet. We used to have a term in the zoning board, de minimis, where, if there was a question of a property line that was within 6 inches, it was like, well, is it really going to make a difference one way or another?
No,
It's 2 square,
No, that's
it's 2
correct.
square feet, I'm discussing with the board.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I may look at you, but this is.
Thank you.
If I have a question for you, I'll ask you directly, but thank you. So, I mean, I understand, the code is the code and the number is the number, but I mean, the difference between 98 square foot room and a 100 square foot room, without stating the obvious, is, a newspaper. And I'm just trying to rationalize in a town that's already stressed and strapped for housing and, places for people to stay, to have to make them go back and remodel every single room to gain the size of a newspaper to meet compliance. I'm not seeing, and I totally respect Tom's opinion, the rule is the rule and that's it. But I'm just saying, as a board, sometimes we're given situations like this where it's like, okay, so what's the detriment? What's going to happen if we grant this variance of the size of a newspaper, space to the room, and 2 people are allowed to occupy it legally because of the variance we grant? What is the downside? Like, what's being harmed? Who's being harmed? What is the potential? And I'm for 2 square feet. Personally, I'm not seeing where the harm is. And even say, well, you're setting a precedence. It's like we judge each thing individually. If someone comes in here and is 10 square feet off, okay, then I'm going to have a problem.
Well, the only problem, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, and I think everybody probably does, but how can we vary a state law? I mean, it's a state.
Well, we do variances to Title V laws all the time, and this is, a building determination. I mean, I'm kind of, like, why isn't the building department being asked, or the building inspector being asked, or zoning board of appeals being asked to appeal a building? Is this a building department? Is the building inspector involved in this, Tom? Did they catch this and say, oh, no, it's not 100 square
Probably
feet? Or
wouldn't ask how many people are going to be in there.
Yeah, that's probably, they issued the permit based on the word bedroom, but they
Right.
don't.
And then
we
when was
enforce the state code as far as number of people per bedroom.
when did this come to light? Like, at what point during the inspection process? Was it building department that went out there?
Oh, no, it's a health inspector that conducts rental unit inspections, part of the rental process.
Prior to them getting their certificate of occupancy?
Right.
And
It
the
says-
rooms were set up for 2 occupants, and that triggered it?
Well, I think there was a discussion between Mr. Mason and the health inspector. He said, no, 1 person, and he said he wanted 2. He's sorry, you can only have 1 person. Because we put the number of people on the registration.
Right.
Well, it's possible some of these rooms might only have 1 person. Is that correct?
That's correct. But again, one more time, is that you can't always, they're liable to bring a second person in. We're just trying to clean it up because we know there's a lot of units around the town here that have 6 people in one room. It's, we're just trying to, we just
gotta be
remodeled
my
this to
neighbor.
try to give some nice housing, at an affordable rate for the people here in the town. And that's, and we're off by, I'd say 2 inches on one wall, if you will,
Yeah, I have to say,
Yeah.
I sympathize. I've just been sitting here rereading and rereading that regulation, and that's, I mean, like so many government regulations, that's difficult to make the logical connection between the floor space and the closet being excluded from the floor space. They put too much into that one sentence.
Yeah, if you-
Listing all those
yeah.
different rooms and all those different spaces. It's actually 2 completely different concepts that they link together, and so I totally get that you wouldn't have understand that? I'm sure you easily could have made the closet 2 feet smaller.
I mean, under an architect's, errors and omissions policy, I mean, this would kick in because this is, I mean, an architect's supposed to know this and supposed to design it and supposed to understand that. I mean, that's why we hire architects is to,
Right,
incorporate the sprinkler system, the plumbing system, the HVA system. There's, the building code in Massachusetts is this thick, so that's what an architect's job is, to know all of that and become familiar with local interpretation or state interpretation when it comes time to pulling and designing places. And,
So it was a mistake in the design.
yeah, clearly, because if their intent, and if they expressed that intent to the architect, is that their intent from the beginning was to have it
The architect
two-room,
didn't know.
two-person occupancy. If he didn't know, then he probably would have designed it for one person, and he would have got 10 rooms out of this, because they would have kept it at 70 square feet.
Could be.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean,
why
the
make
fact
such
that
a-
he's so close at 98 tells me he thought his interpretation of the code is that the closet would be counted towards the 100 square feet. So, like I said, every professional has a, errors and omissions policy of insurance that covers these type of mistakes. So if we reject it, I think there's, room for, going after them financially, but nobody wants that. You just want to clarify the thing. So, but I'm open for this discussion. Any more ideas? Tom Lee, any opinion on this? You seem to be pondering.
As an engineer, sometimes I look at it, 10 is 10, 8 is 8. But then when you look in reality-wise, what is the difference between 100 and 98? You round it off to 100.
It's pretty close.
Okay, when you look at harm, what is 2 feet, it's 2 square feet is going to harm anybody? None. I think I'm fine with the variance request.
Anyone else? Any other opinions? No? I would entertain a motion then to approve the variance as submitted, requested.
So move.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None? It's unanimous. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a food variance. Domi Stanley, Hyannis Inn Motel, 473 Main Street, Hyannis, map parcel 308-084, requesting a pool variance from the State Sanitary Code 435.06, 1A, water circulation filtration system, requesting to continue with the flow on pump until the replacement pump is installed, which will then comply with the 8-hour turnover rate.
Hi,
Hi,
my
good
name is
afternoon.
Tommy.
Tommy?
I'm here with my Chief Operating Officer, Jillian, and my Chief Engineer, Tom, just in case we have questions that they can answer for you.
Great, thank you.
So we are supposed to be at 90 gallons per minute, and we're currently at 50. And so we're just looking to see if we can get an extension to the end of the season to get the work done.
Okay, thank you for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff?
This is a very difficult question for the staff because the state code requires the 90, and this is almost half at 50. The concern is the quality of the pool water during the season, summer season, the entire season. So this is something that needs to be corrected as soon as possible, and I understand they're asking for the entire summer season and then to make the repairs. So this is a difficult question for us to answer. I'm concerned about people becoming ill, cloudy water, lots of things we're concerned about with a lack of turnover rate in the pool. If the board does grant this variance, we would request additional testing frequency, at least monthly, maybe twice a month may make more sense. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members of the board, any comments or questions?
Didn't we have another case where a motel needed to add a new filter or pump, and we gave them a variance to go through the summer? Up on North Street maybe, or?
I don't remember that.
No? I would think it'd be good to consider what you said about added pumping and, or added treatment, and, to be fair, I mean, anyhow, that's what I think.
How long has this been like this? And how did it come to light?
So we actually just purchased the property on February 9th. So we took over the property with no prior knowledge that there was any issues. So when they came to open the pool, they actually brought it to our attention that we have a 1.5-inch pipe. It needs to be 2. So we did get a quote. I think you have an old one. The updated one's like $13,000. Part of the issue is getting someone out to do it because it's in season, and our person that does all of our pools at our property said, listen, it's going to take me a little bit of time. Obviously, being an indoor pool, the weather, it's busy, but we have no problem doing extra testing. We do it once
A month
right now.
And so it's the same number of bedrooms, apartments, or whatever that was,
Correct.
that you didn't add to it. So
Nothing changed.
was there any failures with the previous owners with the same size pump system?
No, I don't recall any issues with the previous owner.
I
no
don't
te-
know
no
if it was
failed
a new,
tests?
if it was new something new happened. The pool inspector said that this was a new requirement. I don't know if it was required last year.
Do you know anything about that, Sharon or Tom? Was that,
No.
did the code change or anything?
Oh, sorry.
No, no.
Okay. Comments, questions, anyone else? I mean, I'm just, what brings it to light is change of ownership, and if there was no previous failures from the testing, and there was no increase in the amount of people staying there, and it's just new owners, and they're willing to move forward with from being in the property management business myself, I'm having problems getting materials and logistics for new pool heaters and things like that. So I understand, when your client tells you this, the heater broke, and you call the company and they say, yeah, we'll get you one in 6 months. It's like, 6 months? So I understand and empathize with your situation. So, and if we haven't had previous failures from testing and there's no increase in the amount of people, I don't see that the public harm is going to be if we extend this till the end of the summer or sooner. If he comes
Yeah.
through in August, great.
100%,
But
yeah.
With
Anyone
the
else?
increased treatment.
yeah, if we do testing, not treatment, but in maybe just do you think once a month, Tom, would be good to start? And then if there's something close to a failure, maybe increase it to twice a month, and we'll leave it at your discretion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
We're actually
currently,
doing
it
it once a
once a
month.
now.
Once a month right
But if
now.
you want us to increase it, we could.
All right, let's do would
and
staff be good with twice a month?
yes, oh, yes. And then the lifeguard also checks the chlorine level, pH,
Yeah.
et cetera, 4 times a day.
Yeah,
We do that now.
Tom and
Yes.
Tommy are both CPO certified.
Everyone good with that? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the variance for the, from the plumbing circulation requirement until such time as they can get it installed later down the road, probably by the end of the summer, hopefully sooner, with the amendment of the additional testing to twice a month instead of monthly.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Have a
much.
great day.
Good luck going forward.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a food variance, Kellyanne Barboza Penn, representing Jimmy's Ice Cream. Or was that moved? Withdrawn.
Oh,
Sorry.
withdrawn.
Item withdrawn. Next item, Elizabeth Wolfbane, representing First Friday of every month, Farmers Market, July through December, 181 North Street, Hyannis, a.k.a. Main Street across from the police annex, interested in traditional farmers market with uncut vegetables and fruit.
She was just here. She was sitting right over there.
Yes, she was here earlier, so this is presented to the board just to make us aware each time there's a new farmer's market coming to the area. They are not requesting any vendors that are cutting the fruit or cutting the vegetables, so it's a straightforward farmer's market at this time. and they just do it once a month.
What's confusing is that was my understanding, was just going to be uncut fruits and vegetables, but now I see they have a little sandwich shop on one of the pages here and some other food participants that weren't mentioned earlier.
So to clarify that, the backup they gave me was for, they applied for it too late into the June. So they were hoping to get that for June, and that was the only meeting they were going to have something different. So June, they weren't able to do a vendor for anything but veggies, yeah. So going forward from July to December, once a month, they're looking to just do the farmers market.
And sandwiches, do you know?
No sandwiches,
Oh, okay, just farmers market.
just farmers, yep.
We have no objections, just in compliance with your policies, I suggest no cooking at farmers market unless you approved by the Board of Health at a future meeting.
So the next one's scheduled for July 7th, 5 to 8 p.m. Would it be possible, Tom, to set up an inspection out there at 5? Or is that
Yes, oh, yes.
just to make sure?
For just, yeah, sure.
Is she the one?
Elizabeth, how are you?
Aaron, yeah.
We're discussing your project, your request.
Thank you.
So the question Tom just had was as far as any prepared foods or things like that, because he thought there was something added?
Not so far. Originally, we were open to what the people were interested in bringing, but that last event, our first Friday, what we had was, I think it was just farm fresh food and then scallops, right? But there was nothing prepared. At one point, somebody with quiche was interested. That's what it was. But they didn't ever apply. It didn't come through. But we wanted to be prepared because someday, the reason I'm here sitting through this, even though I just put on a long table, is because eventually someday we want to have a farmer's market on Main Street. We just, right now it's like, what's it called when you have a little thing? A trickle market. It's probably going to be one table at the next one. But we want to garner and create something big. So I want to do it the right way because I know it's complex to have a farmer's market.
So if it ends up being prepared foods and stuff, I mean, that's, I know you want us to like issue the grant, grant it, and then, if it comes up, you just go ahead and do it, but there's a process.
Yeah,
to
we'd
setting
come-
up the inspection and.
We'd come back because I know it's more complex if a quiche person came versus a lady with lettuce and tomatoes on a
Right.
table. But I think we're starting, honestly, in the end with the lettuce and tomatoes on the table. Or maybe we're trying to get the oyster guy, not the oyster, the scallop guy back because they had a great following and it just helps the event.
So these are just sold as frozen?
Right, you're right. None of it was prepared.
Good, okay.
I just want to be here because I want eventually that to happen where we have something robust, not like Osterville, but something that's, you could call a farmer's market. Right now it's not. It's just a lady with a table.
Okay,
And-
just communicate with Health Department. So if there is a change and you start
Yeah.
upgrading to more stuff, that they're aware of it and they make sure that everyone out there is in compliance with the rules
Yeah,
for prepared foods and things like that.
We used to have very successful Hyannis Main Street farmers markets. It was right up across from Bradford's Hardware for years, and then
We did, and we'd love to bring it back. We didn't always have the clientele that was buying this, or because we get a lot of tourists, and then the people that live here maybe don't spend as much on it. But I think now that farmers markets are more popular and kind of less different, people are like, oh, everywhere there should be one. But that's where we'd love to bring it back. And these first Fridays, which will be going into December, I want to be here to set it up that someday, this is really our goal, is to have one first Friday of the month, from June to December.
Friday mornings, because you're in
At
conference.
Friday, it's at 5 to 8 is that event for first Fridays.
Oh, it's Friday afternoons.
Yeah, first one is July
Okay, because
The next one's July 7th, yeah.
at 5 p.m.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that doesn't conflict with Osterville. Osterville's Friday mornings.
right. And so we're hoping to kind of slip in and not be a conflict or competition to others, but
Maybe
That's
just
just-
put on your notes to have, member of staff pop over there and just make sure.
What do you have to do to get liquor, permission for liquor?
So we go to licensing, and we have permission for the sip and shop in the shops on Main Street that are participating, almost like a little art gallery opening to create some interest. And then we had a little beer garden in that parking lot that we're talking about across from the police station. And we had pickleball. And so the idea is a lot of people came to Main Street on Friday night because they thought it was interesting, different, creating a little buzz. So that's the purpose behind all of this is, to create that interest.
I had a conversation this morning in the gym with a couple of guys about how nice it used to be to walk up and down Main Street years ago when they had the miniature golf. And I'm talking about the late 40s and 50s.
Oh, yeah, the miniature golf. More things to do. That's why we lose those things like the carousel and the bowling alley. So we're trying to create more of that buzz that you have in places like Boston where there are a lot of young people. So we don't have the young people. We're trying to create the atmosphere the young people like. But we thought it was a leap with the carousel turning into a beer garden. But I've noticed over the past few days when it's nice and warm, the place is packed. So if you do it right, they come, right?
Okay, any other questions,
hoping.
comments, board members? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So we'll move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for the support.
And
Next.
long table was great.
Did someone go?
I was there.
You were there? Which table?
I was at Embargo.
Fargo. They were all beautiful, and everyone made a big effort. So,
Yeah, the food was fantastic. The atmosphere was great. Thank you.
you like the music?
Yeah, loved it.
Right. It was beautiful. We were lucky with that window. Sorry to keep you busy, but it was monumental for food. So I'm glad I'm here because we talk about food. It was a foodie event. So thank you.
You bet.
Maybe I'll go down and sing.
Next item on the agenda is food temporary events. This is Sonny Feldman, is coordinator of the event Amplified POC at the Town Green, 367 Main Street, map parcel 326-021, on Sunday, July 9th from 12 to 4 p.m. with 2 food vendors, Blue Moon of Barnstable providing chicken, steak, and veggie tacos, and 2 Caribbean Lounge of Highness providing rice, curried chicken, vegetables, stewed pork, fish, fried chicken, soup, and beef patties. Good
Hi there.
afternoon.
Yes, how are you all? Nice to see you. So I'm from Amplify POC. I'm on the board of directors. This is the second time we're hosting this event. Last year we had it in Azleton Park. Last year we used food trucks, so we did not come before you. This year we've decided to use some local restaurants who would like to be vendors at the event. One is Caribbean Lounge. The other is Blue Moon Restaurant. Both are, obviously approved restaurants in the town. You read what they're going to be serving. They're going to have a hand washing station, a shared right behind them, so within 10 feet of each food vendor tent. So hope you guys are approving it. Any
you for that.
questions? Yeah.
This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff?
Hi, can you give us a layout, draw a floor plan of where the hand wash stations will be?
Yep, I did submit that, but I do have something. I don't know if I printed it out with me.
So you're going to have 2 hand wash stations, one for each vendor?
No, one, the regulation said it had to be within 10 feet and it could be shared. So it's within 10 feet. They're each going to have a tent next to one another, and the hand washing station will be shared right behind both of them. You have the layout? Thank you. I did not bring it.
Well, the problem is the tables are 8 feet long, and the hand wash station looks to be 16 feet away in this plan. You said it's 8 feet from the hand wash station to the table, and the table is another 8 feet away.
I did not put measurements on there, so I'm not sure what you're referring to.
These numbers, someone filled in these numbers here?
That's not
8 feet.
That's not my floor plan. Sorry. Ours was, I had used the picture of the Hyannis Village Green, the floor plan you guys have online, and had put. I'm sorry, I don't think I do, but I might have it in my email. I can look in there. If you want me to just sit down and take the next person, I can look for it. Do you want to do that?
Well, no, as long as you provide, we like to see one hand wash station per, you have 2 food vendors, 2 separate food vendors. We like to see one per food vendor. They should set up a hand wash station for their use that's conveniently located, not walking around other tables or boxes or anything like
Nope.
that.
So if I can explain to you, what I was told was okay was to have, each vendor will have a 10 by 10 foot tent, those simple pop-up tents, and a table in front of the tent where they're going to be serving the food to the public, and then probably a table to the side where they're going to be doing whatever prep work. Behind the tent, so if this podium was one tent, there'd be another tent right next to it. Directly behind each of them in the middle would be one hand washing station.
So look at to see if there's any obstructions like ropes holding the tent, stake, things to trip over trying to get to the hand wash station. We need to look at that before
Okay.
we can approve it, one hand wash station. The simple answer would be to provide one per tent that's in the tent, close by, conveniently located. That would be the suggested way of.
Yeah, we've already
having-
purchased and secured one, which is
You don't need to
not a
buy
cheap
them.
purchase for us as a nonprofit.
You don't need to buy them. You can make.
I know you can rent them, but this is something we're going to do annually. So cost-wise, it was actually
You're
more
gonna provide
expensive to
an
rent it.
inspection beforehand? Usually they go out,
This is on a Sunday, and it's only 2 food vendors. Usually we trigger at 3 food vendors. We can post this for an inspector.
they seem to understand the regulation. They know it's going to be there if there's no complaints, if there's no, and I don't want to have to
Yeah,
pay someone overtime to come in on a Sunday to
We
inspect
don't,
it.
we don't require people to buy hand stations.
If you can just forward, Tom, that sketch that you have that
Sure.
shows it, and then if you have a problem with it, you can,
Yeah, right.
not issue the permit. We'll
Fair enough.
We'll
set up, you can make your own. We provide a diagram how to make a hand wash
Okay,
station. It's
that's
very
fine.
simple.
Okay.
I don't think we have to hold it up for
Okay.
that, for the layout. But members of the board, any comments or questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So second?
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Next item on the agenda, Jessica Rudin-Doobie is coordinating the Katuitt Library Cornhole fundraiser at the Katuitt Library, 871 Main Street, Katuitt, map parcel 035-055, on Friday, July 14th at 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, July 16th. Jason Siosko will be providing the following food items: clam chowder, pasta salad, grilled chicken, potato chips, and Italian sausage. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jessica Rudin-Doobie. I am the executive director for Katuitt Library. This will be the first year that we are doing this event. We're hoping to make it a first annual. It is a cornhole tournament that requires pre-registration. We're only allowing 50 teams of 2, so there's a maximum registration of 100 guests. Probably there'll be some spectators, so possibly up to 150 if wives and husbands show up. We are contracting with Jason Cisco, who is, I think, a known entity to the town. I've submitted all of his food and safety certificates for allergen awareness, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank of the other name of the certificate, but that has been submitted. We've submitted a map and an approximate drawing of where we think the setup will be. And we're expecting food from 4:30 to 7:30, but the event runs from 4 to 8.
Thank you very much for that. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public like to speak on this item, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff?
Hi, it's only one food vendor. Does he require to have 2 tables set up the way you have it set up?
He does not. I submitted it thinking there'd be one for like paper goods.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
Then I would suggest that wherever the food prep is handling, that the hand wash station be moved closer to that table.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any members of the board, comments or questions?
Tom, what's a thermal container? Just something that holds hot water? The type of hand washing facility, thermal container, paper towels, and a bucket.
Oh, that's something that the applicant filled out. So they use something, they make their own hand wash station out of a container that has a spigot. So hopefully it has a spigot that you don't
good.
need to have 2 hands to operate to wash your hands. You just turn it on. The thermal container could be a coffee, one of those silver coffee makers with a nozzle. You put hot water in there and you have soap and paper towels on the side, dispenser
Alright.
soap, and that suffices as a hand wash station.
Any other members of the board, comments or questions? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We have a application for a new septic installer, James Ford of Osterville. Was all of his references, everything check out, and you passed the test?
Yes, he's doing fine.
Okay. Any comments or questions, board members? I'd entertain a motion to approve the installer's license issuance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? That's
Aye.
unanimous. Body artist, new. I'm not going to attempt this name, but thank you. This is a body artist at Brow Boutique, 37 Barnstable Road, Hyannis, map parcel 327-013. Has the Save Each Life Anatomy, Physiology, and Skin course for body art practitioner certificate. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
My name is Angela.
Can you say the name?
Angela Ovarova.
Thank you so much for that. You have all the paperwork, you submitted everything properly?
Can I invite my translator?
She's a little bit shy. My name is Ayan Bulmaga. I'm a co-owner of Brow Boutique, but she's a little bit shy. Too many good-looking fellas in the evening, so.
Okay.
Can you make sure the green light is on? I'm having trouble
Yeah,
hearing.
it's
Or can you
been
pull it
turned,
closer?
yeah, for some reason the mics are like turned down.
I know.
I know. They're all on, but they're turned down. So we're not hearing. This is a public hearing. If there's any members of the public want to speak on this item, come forward. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Town staff, did they submit everything
Staff has
properly?
no objections, no, yeah, my understanding is there's no body piercing. This is for, it's for brows only. We have no objections.
Okay, any comments or questions, members of the board? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your patience sitting through the whole meeting. And then the last item is we just monthly updates. Still in discussions with figuring out a policy once the next several months start coming up. The first phase of sewering is going to start coming up live, and then we'll have connections, and then we're going to have people coming in saying, I just put a brand new septic system in 5 years ago. I don't want to have to hook up right away. And we're trying to figure out a draft, and we're still working on that. But I wanted it to be on the monthly agenda so that we keep taking a look at it and just keep figuring out and eventually come up with some sort of policy on that. I know Tom Lee's been working on some ideas, and Tom McKeon too, similar, but not exactly similar to Stewart's Creek, because obviously Stewart's Creek dragged out way too long.
You know, there's been several articles in the Boston Globe recently about the projects out in the ocean, the wind farms. And from reading those articles, it seems like there's a good chance that the other two wind farms won't be done. I mean, they're canceling out. So we're getting stuff like a couple of months ago, we have people saying they're gonna be hooked up next spring, and the cable hasn't even been, started to be put in. I
believe
imagine
that's
the town
in phase.
is into that.
That's just one section. It's not, that's just,
Oh, it's the whole thing, like
It's
the
just- it's-
one coming into Craigville Beach.
right, it's just,
and
they're
Dowsett Beach.
installing the pipe as they install the conduit for the electric, so that it's there for, I think it's what phase 2 is?
No, but it might be
Craigville?
that it might not be done.
No, they're contractually obligated. They set a bond for it.
If you read the article, you
The
won't.
wind farm may not go in, but that pipe's going in the ground, because otherwise they're gonna owe the town the cost of it, because they may had them pull a bond.
Well, I don't know.
No, it has nothing to do really with what this
I'm
discussion
sure
is
there's
on.
not gonna be sewers
The
up
timing.
on Main Street in Centerville in a year.
I didn't say there was. That's phase, I think, 2, Centerville. That's 10 years away.
Mr. Chairman, may I give you a 2-second update on
Sure, go
35
ahead.
Pleasant Street? 35 Pleasant Street was on, if you remember the last hearing, there were a lot of complaints about odors and.
Yes.
The inspector set up 2 nighttime inspections and 2 daytime inspections, and he also As soon as a complaint came, he was out there within minutes. This was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The gentleman came and complained. He was out there within minutes. No odors. So between myself, a health inspector, and 2 other persons that have been out there at random time, there's been at least 7 inspections with no odors detected. So I just thought I'd give you an update.
Do you have any,
Thanks.
Thanks.
do we have any explanation for why they keep filing complaints then?
So, don't get into that.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
It's not our,
All right.
it's not our purview. Let's not get involved. We were asked to address the inspector's report. Was it done right? That's the only issue we had before us, was they can appeal the decision of the inspector. The inspector found nothing. They disagreed with that findings, and they asked us to take a look at the information, and that's what we ruled on, is that the inspector's findings were valid and justified. That's all we were to look at.
Really interesting, though, the police and the fire are just the opposite.
Remember, they took a picture of a bag, but not the inside of the bags.
Right.
We tried to examine the pictures, and we didn't see any pictures of feces inside the bags.
Okay, I'll limit discussion on this because this wasn't really posted. Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
So, and then the other item was just, again, the potential of issuing temporary holding tanks to people that have a failed septic system, but are maybe a year, 2 years away from sewer being in front of their property, and issuing temporary holding tank permits and following up on that and see if that's something that's also viable. But we're not getting much cooperation from DEP on that, unfortunately, which...
I'll follow up with them.
Yes, thank you so much, Tom Lee, on that. Any other comments or questions? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.